You're still in the mood?
Yeah, of course.
Well, Hans Plomp, and I'm very honored to be here, that we can have this symposium of Denise at Ruigoord. And I think we only know each other for about, I think, half a year or something. And now I'm standing here, so thank you. And I'm looking forward to your work.
Well, thank you very much, Ivanka, and excuse me for the strange interruption in the background. Okay, I think the radio lady is in a bad mood today. Anyway.
Net geen opvangers, klaar. Trommel met de leugens.
Well, you see, Ruigoord is also a kind of social experiment, and most of the people who come here and find a place here, there are two reasons. One reason may be that they don't fit in society and don't feel at ease in society, but still have a lot of talents which they cannot express there, and a lot of them would be probably institutionalized or kept out of society, if not for Ruigoord. We have a lot of people here, ADHD, autistisch, borderliners, schizophrenen, paranoids. And the miracle is that all these people somehow get better without psychiatry. And you see sometimes it's difficult and wrong moments happen. But okay, all this plays in front of our eyes, and well, that's the thing. Ruigoord is very difficult to compare to a system. I can tell you, for instance, how it all started, and then you'll see that it's one of the most difficult things here is to create rules that people have to keep. And maybe this is the reason why Ruigoord still exists after 40 years, because many movements that are somehow more organized, have more rules, have some kind of ideology, we found out after a couple of years that people start breaking the rules, that you have to adapt the rules, that you never know at the moment when you make the rules what is going to happen. And if things are going to happen not according to the rules, then a lot of people think, well, you're breaking the rules and this is not right. Well, we have worked without rules and just followed what happened. I will tell you how we got this incredible situation here, that we are having here in the 19th century oasis, a small piece of the 19th century that should have been completely erased. It should have been like our neighbors, and those plans were made about 50 years ago to expand Amsterdam's industrial area. And the paradox is that we would not have been here if this village would not have been destroyed for the industrial plans. So in one way, we are very grateful about the destruction of this beautiful piece of land. On the other hand, of course, we like to keep it as beautiful as possible. And already we are thinking how we can turn our new neighbor, the Faux Oil Hotel, as they call it, into a big dance hall when the oil industry collapses. So we have seen the same at Westerpark in Amsterdam, a former gas factory, I think, gasfabriek. It's now one of the most beautiful cultural places that we have around Amsterdam. And I think Ruigoord will hold out so long till we have, hopefully, new, cleaner, more sustainable energy. I think it's all there. I think Mr. Tesla has prepared a way to the future that is very bright. And many things have changed in the last 40 years, but one thing did not change here, and that is Ruigoord. And I think this is going to be the way it is the coming 40 years. We have a contract till 2020, so you can say we are safe as far as things can be safe on this planet. And in 2020, we wonder what the world will look like. But anyway, we will be here, we will be the same, and let's see what happens. I go back to the very beginning now. That's 1970. A group of people from Amsterdam mainly were realizing that all the beautiful dreams of the 60s were coming to an end. And instead of make love, no war, already our children were shouting in the distance, no future. The punk generation was, you know, coming up. And of course they were rather different in a way from the so-called hippies. So we realized, although I think we never called ourselves hippies, because Amsterdam had its own brand of rebels called the Provos, and they did not have flowers in their hair, and they went into the streets and they were kind of protesting, which is rather unhippie-like. So the Provos are already a little bit a mix between the hippies and the punks. But anyway, we realized in 1970-71 that if we really wanted to go on with our different vision, if we really wanted to make something happen, then we would have to have some land, some place, a place where we could make our dreams come true. And this was, in those days, maybe even more difficult than now, because squatting hardly existed. Kraken bestond eigenlijk nauwelijks. And to find a place where you can, with a lot of people, organize a kind of cultural spectacle that you don't even know what it's going to be. People who have no money. It was very difficult. But this is what happened. I was in Morocco, traveling, and in the desert, in an oasis, there was a French girl, young lady. She was very ill. I had a deux chevaux in those days, so I took her to a hospital about 100 miles away from the place, from that oasis. I dropped her at the hospital, and we said goodbye, and that was it. Then, I think that was in '68 or something. Then in 1972, when I was walking in Amsterdam, suddenly I ran into this lady. We told each other what we were doing, and I said, well, with a group of friends, we are actually looking for a place where we can work together, live together maybe, but yeah, this is even more difficult in Holland, of course. She said, well, that's striking, because I'm staying with a friend here in Amsterdam, and he has just squatted a house in a whole empty village near Amsterdam. I said, a whole empty village near Amsterdam? What is it? I was born in Amsterdam, I've been cycling to IJmuiden as a young boy, all the way. I know all these little villages around Amsterdam. What is it? I don't know about any empty village. She said, yeah, it's called Ruigoord. Ruigoord. So she took me to the friend, and the friend took me to this village, and to my enormous surprise, we found this church and the houses that are here now. And most of the houses had been torn down already, but what was here was just such a big surprise. And at the moment I saw the church, something happened. I thought, okay, this is a special gift. So I went to the priest and talked with the old priest who was still living in the house next to the church. And he was an old and bitter and broken man, because the bishop of Haarlem, that's the boss here, I guess, or was the boss here, had sold his church, his whole parish, parochie, without even asking him. And the man, priest, had been pastor here for about 30 years. He had been living with his huishoudster, his housekeeper. I don't think they ever had sex, but they were a couple, definitely, very close together. And the priest said, well, you see, I'm so poor now, I'm living here, everything I have built up has been destroyed. I have to live from the collections that I have after the Mass, collectors. And only 10 people are left here, so you can imagine how poor I am. Even his dress was torn and everything. He said, they just left me alone, and they said, one day before we tear down the church, we will warn you, and we will take you and your housekeeper to a monastery. She to a monastery for ladies, me to a monastery for men. He said, to tell you the truth, Hans, I don't believe in God anymore.